How to improve your thinking skills in translation or life activities in general. Do we need to use thinking skills in translation? Can translation improve one's general thinking skills? What can translation add to the existing body of knowledge? Actually, every thought that is written is a translation according to Derrida. Welcome back everyone to Levels of Translation channel. Last time, we discussed some translation strategies proposed by Vinay and Dabane. We also said we'll talk about some of these strategies separately for two reasons. First, they are widely used in translation across languages. Secondly, they may be used as key indicators of competent translators. Before we start talking about some thought-provoking translation strategies, one can find these strategies interrelate with logical and philosophical concepts like the relations of whole and part, abstract and concrete. Derrida says the origin of philosophy is translation, or the thesis of translatability. So, today we'll talk about one of the most useful strategies for sharpening thinking skills. It's modulation. Modulation can also be regarded as one of the benchmarks of professional and competent translators. Modulation is a variation of the form of the message obtained by a change in the point of view. It's simply to focus on how appropriate the message is to the target language reader. When can I use modulation? You may translate literally and come up with a grammatically correct structure, but it may seem unsuitable, unidiomatic, or awkward to the target language readers. Here you can think of modulation, which may be optional or obligatory. It depends on how inappropriate or awkward your direct translation is. Vinay and Dabane listed 11 types of modulation. Most of them can be found in an introductory book on philosophy and logic. We'll start with the negated opposite. For instance, in French, they say complet for no vacancies in English. Both direct and indirect forms have no negative implications. It depends on how natural and typical either term is used in the target language. But sometimes we find it very hard to use the direct meaning like the word liar, كاذب. Can you call your close friends liars? Can you call an older colleague who is more senior at work a liar? Here we can move to another level of translation where we can consider the connotative meaning, not the direct meaning. If you check the meaning of lying in dictionaries or language books, one may find, for example, the following definition. The one who intentionally says untrue statement is called a liar. So why don't we use the dictionary definition? الصدق in Arabic, for example, means مطابقة الحكم الواقع, to tell what happens correctly. On the other hand, الكذب مخالفة الواقع. So you can say you are not telling the truth. Or you can put it more politely as it's not true. We can use the negative opposite, غير صادق, لم تقل الحقيقة, or أنت تخالف الواقع. All give the same meaning as كاذب. It depends on how acceptable your literal translation is to the target audience or culture. When the situation is tense, I think you should think of modulation. The word kafir is translated as infidel, disbeliever, unbeliever, atheist in dictionaries, but it's not precisely translated. Calling someone as infidel is very offensive in all languages. The Islamic definition of kafir is not reflected either. The word kafir can be translated into a denier of the truth in the Islamic text, or non-Muslim in interfaith dialogue. He is non-Muslim and I am non-Christian, Now we can talk. The two options may differ, but the underlying reference is still the same. The second type of modulation, reversal of terms. You can express the same idea the other way round. For example, it's not difficult. In Arabic we can say من السهل. The same can be found in Spanish, is fácil, and in French, elle est facile. Another example, health insurance. In the German language, they refer the terms to sickness insurance. And in Spanish, they use disease insurance by reversing the terms. With the third type of modulation, one can move from cause to effect. For example, to translate this sentence into Arabic literally, we may not be able to transfer the intended message properly. You are quite a stranger. Why he has become a stranger? Maybe because we haven't seen him for a long time. So we can put in Arabic that way. لم نعد نراك. It's also used in French. For example, this example in French, we can translate it back into English as we don't see you anymore. Another type of modulation is to move from concrete to abstract ideas, and the other way around. For example, books are useful. We can also say القراءة مفيدة. Reading is useful. By changing the concrete item, books, into an abstract concept, القراءة, reading. Sometimes this process could be obligatory, or to put it in Vinay and Dabarne's term, fixed. For example, ينشر الغسيل المتسخ. To hang up the dirty washing, or to air the dirty laundry. This transition may not be easy to understand today in some countries, where they stopped hanging up the washing outdoors on the grass, for instance. Today, they have dryers, laundry drying racks, so one can think of something similar, like to dish the dirt, or change to an abstract term, gossip, or spread malicious rumors or negative information. The fifth type of modulation is to use the whole for part and part for whole. For example, الأيدي العاملة. It is translated into English as manpower, not labor hands. We use the whole person. The word I in we sent an eye to them could mean a spy. It's used in both languages similarly. Here, the process is optional. We can also change one part to another part. For example, it's more typical in English to say, to put your fingers on the problem. But in Arabic we can also use another body part, which is the hand. لأضع يديك على المشكلة. Hand, not fingers. Sometimes this process is obligatory. For example, to translate the following God's words into English, we have to use modulation. The word أرجلكم, legs, is translated into feet because we only wash our feet, not the whole leg. Changing passive into active. The passive voice can work well in both Arabic and English when the logical subject is ignored. That's if we have no by phrase. But once we have both subject and object, it becomes less formal in Arabic to use the passive. The car was sold by Bill. السيارة باعها بيل, not السيارة بيعت بواسطة أو من قبل We will have a separate video on how to translate the passive voice into English and Arabic later. Time to space. We can change time to space and space to time if they are co-referent. In primary school, I was very shy. You can translate the sentence literally. في المدرسة الابتدائية كنت خجولا. But also you can change the place, primary school, into time. حينما كنت, when I was, حينما كنت أدرس في المدرسة الابتدائية أو حينما كنت في المدرسة الابتدائية. Exchange of intervals for limits in time and space. We can exchange intervals for limits in time. For example, see you in a week. You can give a specific day. If you are talking to someone and you say to him, see you in a week. If you are talking to him on Sunday, for example, it means that you will see him on Sunday, on this Sunday. So you can say, see you in a week, أراك بعد أسبوع, or أراك يوم الأحد. Exchange of intervals for limits in space. No parking between signs. ممنوع الوقوف بين العلامات أو العلامتين. Or you can say حدود المواقف. The last type of modulation is to change symbols. It's a very interesting and useful process for intercultural communication. For example, as like as two peas. In French, they have something different, like 2 drops of water. We have another symbol in Arabic, أشبه به من التمرة بالتمرة. Or you can say من الماء بالماء. Both can be found in Arabic literature. Another example, أحبها حب قيس ليلى. قيس ليلى can be translated into Romeo and Juliet because they are well-known symbols of love across cultures. The above procedures are quite helpful in translation. They can enhance the process and product of translation. In addition, these procedures can enhance the translator's ability to think critically and solve problems. Thank you for watching and see you later.